In this final video on lists, we're going to look at how to loop through a list or iterate over a list. So in this first example, I have a list of devices. I'm back to my Apple devices. And let's say I have all of them and I want to declare to the world that I have all these devices. So I'm going to use a for loop for this since I know how many elements are in my list. So I'm going to say for device in devices and use my colon again. Note that device could be any word. I could have made that for X in devices. So for each element of that list, for element in devices. But because each one of those is a device, it makes sense to put for device in devices. So for each element in this list of devices, print I have a or an and then device. So what this says is for every device in this list, print I have a and then print that item. So let's go ahead and see what this would look like. I'm going to go ahead and run and lists, and it says I have an iPod, I have an iPhone, I have an iPad, I have a MacBook Air, and I have a MacBook Pro. So again, using this for in construct, we can go through each one of these elements in that list. It's a pretty handy tool. Another thing that comes up a lot of times is to check to see if an element is in a list. So you've seen before where we've asked users if they want to do something, if they want to play a game. Usually we've been pretty limited in what we will accept as responses. But with lists, I can create a list of possible responses and use the if in. Okay, so here, let's look at this list. So this is an infinite loop, and it's going to ask the user, would you like to play? And then assign that value to play, whatever they type in. So then this says, if the value of play is in this list, do this. Otherwise, if the value of play is in this list, print this. If the value is in neither list, remember this is an infinite loop, it's going to go back to the top and keep going. So let's go ahead and see what this might look like. So let's go ahead and run lists, and it says, would you like to play? If I say Y, okay, capital Y, it says thanks for playing because capital Y is in that list. Let's play it again. If I do a lowercase y, okay, thanks for playing because lowercase y is in that list. If I do a capital N, it says too bad because capital N is in this list. If I do nope, nope's in that list. If I do anything other than those two things, let's do maybe. It's going to ask me again. Okay. So you see it's going to keep repeating until I actually put in a value that's in one of those two lists. So if I do no, it says too bad. So again, using if and in checks to see if a value is in that list. And it's a pretty useful construct. Well, that's it for the basics of lists. In the next series of videos, we're going to talk about strings.